Hello and welcome to Kent Tonight, live here on KMTV. I'm Chloe Brewster and here are your top stories on Friday the 27th of February. Car park crunch. Car park tariffs rise under the new Medway budget.
No, well look, we've got serious concerns regarding the budget this evening. You know, £10 million worth of borrowing this year in order to plug the gap.
And care in crisis. Chatham Care Home has registration removed after CQC finds several regulation breaches. And finally, at the core for 24, 5 Acrewood students take part in a 24-hour cardio challenge.
Physical fitness is so important for all of us, and if we can support our young people to have physically fit and active lifestyles, that's going to impact and support them for the rest of their lives.
Our top story tonight. Most council-owned parking tariffs in Medway are set to rise as part of Medway's budget for the coming financial year. Passed with no amendments, the Labour-run council's plan has been met with extreme scrutiny as it relies on government support for the third consecutive year. Medway residents will also see the maximum council tax rise, as local democracy reporter Megan Shaw has been finding out.
Another year of government support, but will it be their last? Huge deficits marked Labour-run Medway Council's budget, passed with no amendments.
Mr Mayor, the budget is agreed.
It's important for the people of Medway to know what they can see from their council over the next 12 months. Of course, we know the backdrop to a council budget here in Medway is that really challenging financial circumstance that we inherited from the previous Conservative council. But on top of that, we spend £1.35 million every single day on adult services, children's services and of course temporary accommodation.
But while Labour struggle to balance the books alongside ensuring services like festivals and libraries continue to run, the opposition have little faith in the council's arithmetic.
No, well look, we've got serious concerns regarding the budget this evening. You know, £10 million worth of borrowing this year in order to plug the gap over the medium term, over the recent years and also in the next 2 years. That's going to see £60 million worth of borrowing in order to fund day-to-day spending. We've still got a gap in the budget of £8 million next year. The administration is saying that it's confident it can close that gap. We haven't seen that tonight in the medium-term financial projections.
But numbers aside, if you live in Medway, how will the budget affect you? And what are the key takeaways you need to know? Medway Council's tax might be the lowest in Kent, but it's set to rise again by 4.99%, the highest amount without holding a local referendum. Although stays until half an hour will drop to just £1, the 1 hour tariff will rise by 50p, and all other hourly tariffs by 60p. It's a razor edge between spending and saving as the council tries to map out the future of the 5 towns, all squeezed by rising costs of living. Megan Shaw in Medway.
Now, the Care Quality Commission has removed the registration of Bright Brains Global Limited to prevent it from operating in Chatham. This comes after the care service was rated inadequate overall, with the CQC finding 7 breaches of regulations, many of which had been identified before and not fixed. Our reporter Maisie Walker has the story.
A home care service in Chatham has been rated inadequate overall by the Care Quality Commission, CQC, after 7 breaches of regulations were found, many of which had been identified before and not fixed. The registration of Bright Brains Global Limited has been removed, and the service will remain in special measures, which means the CQC will monitor it closely and expect significant improvements quickly. The CQC clarified in their report that they had looked for evidence that people were protected from abuse and avoidable harm. At this assessment, the rating has remained inadequate. Areas such as managing people's health needs were even deemed unsafe, with staff found as not being trained enough. Now, if improvements aren't made, Bright Brains Global Limited could face enforcement action.
Maisie joins us live from outside the care home now to tell us more about this story. Now, Maisie, you briefly mentioned some of the safety issues the CQC highlighted. Could you explain those in a little bit more detail for us?
Yeah, so that's right. I'm currently outside Bright Brains Global Limited, where the CQC has recently removed the provider's registration due to breaking multiple regulations. The service is currently being closely monitored and significant improvements are required, and if these improvements are not made, there is the risk that further enforcement may be implemented. So the Bright Brains Global Limited is a home care and supported living service which looks after patients who are older or have autism or a learning disability, and most do have physical disabilities and a mental health diagnosis. So in its report, inspectors did find that people were not always protected from abuse and avoidable harm. The report said that there are not always actions put in place to reduce the risk of further incidents. So for example, in the report it described that there had previously been an incident where a person broke a bathroom window and sustained injury. At the latest assessment, inspectors saw from that previous incident report that another person had smashed the same window and also sustained an injury. And despite this known risk, the provider had not considered replacing the glass with high-impact, shatterproof plastic materials to reduce the risk of further injury. And in addition, inspectors found that staff referred to people by their initials instead of their actual names, which said stripped away people's individual identity.
Just quickly for us, Maisie, can you tell us what else has the CQC said?
So CQC Deputy Director of Operations in Kent, Amy Jubb, said during our visit to Bright Brains Global Limited, we uncovered serious leadership failings that jeopardised people's safety. They'd also saw poor documentation and care planning, which was also putting people at risk. Staff failed to report safeguarding concerns, despite saying they would, and left vital information out of care plans, giving colleagues no clear guidance on people's individual needs.
Thank you so much, Maisie, for bringing us that really important story there. Now, don't forget you can keep up to date with all the latest stories here on KMTV by visiting our website kmtv.co.uk. There you can find all of our reports, including this one, where a Maidstone resident is urging KCC to add visual reminders on a 40-mile-per-hour limit on Sittingbourne Road.
This is Sittingbourne Road in Maidstone, where resident Craig Parrott is calling for speed enforcement measures to be introduced after a series of incidents. As it's a residential area, the maximum speed limit is 30 miles an hour, but Craig says drivers often exceed this limit. We went on a walk where he showed us where he and his family faced a near miss.
First rescue island's there on my right hand side, there where I crossed with my children and my wife across this point. And then obviously, as you can see, the road probably up in the distance there where there's an arrow on the post, that's where the road narrows. And then vehicles come back down. I've had scenarios I was explaining earlier where we cross here and a vehicle has overtaken on this side of the road, and naturally you'd be looking right if you were crossing the road. And I went to cross with my children, and as I looked left, there was a vehicle overtaken on this side of the road because he couldn't cut back in quick enough.
He also says there's only one 30-mile-an-hour limit sign on the entire road, so I went on the hunt for it. The sign is at the top of Bearstead Road, where drivers would join from the A249, and on the other side of Sittingbourne Road is Invicta Primary School.
A lot of young people and children cross these roads, so without a single visible reminder of the 30-mile-an-hour speed limit, Craig is calling for some new measures to be put in place.
It should be highlighted as 30 mile an hour, so more signage, potential road markings, 30 mile an hour painted every so often like you get in some areas.
According to KCC's current framework, 3 fatal or serious accidents must occur before a camera can be considered, which Craig says is 3 fatalities too many. In a statement, KCC said, "Our recent correspondence with the resident shows that several issues were raised, but requests for additional measures were not submitted. Current data does not indicate a widespread speeding problem. Issues such as overtaking around pedestrian islands relate to driver behaviour and are matters for enforcement. The existing limit is generally well observed." According to crash map data, in the last 5 years there have been 13 recorded accidents on Sittingbourne Road, including a report of an incident involving a 16-year-old boy hit by a car when crossing here just last year, and a planted tree that was knocked down after a car travelling too fast clipped the curb and knocked it down. The 46-year-old says he is concerned for the safety of his family
and has even considered moving if no changes are made. Naila Mohammed for KMTV in Maidstone.
Well, it was sunny earlier this week, but what about going into this weekend? Let's take a quick look at the weather. Looking towards this evening, we're having cloudy skies with a bit of a breakthrough in Margate, with temperatures staying around 9 to 10 degrees. Into the morning, cloudy skies will remain, with temperatures dropping to 7 and 8 degrees across the county. And then heading into the evening, temperatures rising back up to 9 and 10 degrees all around, but with sun breaking through with clouds all over the county. And then for your outlook for the coming days, Sunday will bring rain with temperatures around 10 degrees, with Monday and Tuesday having a bit of sun with temperatures reaching 13 and 14 degrees. That's all we have time for in the first part of tonight's show, but we have plenty more coming your way. We'll be chatting with the presenter of this week's Kent Politics show, Megan Shaw, all about the biggest political stories of the week. She'll discuss her conversations with the leader of Canterbury City Council, Alan Baldock, of the Labour Party, and Andy Richards, a governor for a school that teaches children with complex needs. We'll also learn about a group of parents who are protesting the merger of two iconic private schools in Thanet, and we'll take a look at some feel-good stories. So don't go anywhere, stay tuned. Welcome back to Kent Tonight here on KMTV. I'm Chloe Brewster. Now, if you didn't know, every week we have our Kent Politics Show, where we have your local councillors on our sofa to talk about the politics that affect you. If you missed our latest episode just before Kent Tonight, we discussed the government's proposed overhaul of SEND provision in schools, as well as the Green Party victory at the Gordon and Denton by-election. During the show, Councillor Alan Baldock commented about the unlikely chance of Rosie Duffield being allowed back into the Labour Party. And Megan Shaw joins me now to talk all about that. So Megan, just quickly, can you give me an overview of what actually happened today in the Politics Show?
Absolutely. We discussed all sorts of things. You kind of covered it there. So we discussed, of course, the government have announced plans they're wanting to overhaul how children with special and additional and further educational needs might receive support in schools, and how EHCP plans might change and what children will and will not be able to access them anymore. And then we also discuss, of course, the Green Party victory at the Gordon and Denton by-election, particularly important here in Kent. We are England's largest county council, and often we're kind of a microcosm about wider national politics. So we do have, a reform-led council, and seeing the interplay between Reform, Green and Labour can sometimes translate back to the politics we're seeing here locally. We had, as you mentioned there, we had Councillor Alan Baldock speak about Rosie Duffield, which you can hear now.
Yeah, I mean, potentially it depends who takes over as leader and what that relationship could look like. But yeah, I mean, not under Keir Starmer's leadership, I'm afraid.
What do you think the Canterbury seat's going to look like at the next general election? Who do you think's the front runners there?
Okay, do you know, I think if I was going to guess, I would say the battle will between Green and Labour, actually.
Even though it was a traditionally Tory seat before?
Yeah, I think so. I don't think there's a stomach for too far right wing in Canterbury now. I really don't know. I mean,
but surely Rosie would split that vote though as well. Though.
If she stood as independent, I doubt very much whether she would be welcomed back into the Labour Party. To be truthful.
So what's the context behind what we just saw there?
Absolutely, I understand that is just two clips spliced together. So Rosie Duffield was elected as an MP for Canterbury in 2017 with 45% of the vote. That was quite a big moment for Canterbury, which has historically been incredibly conservative, a conservative stronghold. So when she was re-elected again in July 2024, it was only until September that she announced she'd left the party to sit as an independent. And with Keir Starmer, that it was hanging in the balance, would he resign? That was about whether or not she would rejoin were Keir Starmer to step down.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Megan, for joining me. Parents of children attending a prestigious private school in Ramsgate have protested today against a surprise merger. St Lawrence College in Ramsgate will combine with Dover College in September. It marks the end of 150 years of St Lawrence College, with the head teacher moving to head up the new combined school to be named St Lawrence Dover College. But parents say the move has been a shock for both students and teachers alike, and say they're not happy with how the move has been handled. One parent, Laura Holden, spoke to us earlier all about it.
We were told in no uncertain terms that this was just going ahead and that we would all just have to enrol in Dover College if we wanted to remain with what will be the new merged school, which is St Lawrence College, Dover College, I believe. And not only that, the teachers were informed on the same morning, just before classes started. So, 30 minutes or so before the school day started, they were informed that essentially they were out of jobs. They were told that they will be able to reapply for roles at Dover College, but when they asked questions about that and whether the management thought it was actually feasible for all the students to be moving over and whether they expected that to be the case, they were told that no, not really.
In a message to parents, Head of College Matthew Brown said an in-person meeting will be arranged for March 5th in a bid to make sure pupils aren't disrupted. He also tells parents they will receive a letter today providing further context. Now, students of the Special Needs School 5 Acre Wood have taken an intense 24-hour cardio challenge. 424 has the students, staff and even community members join in to raise as much money as possible for a gym converted from an old shipping container. The project will help students access fitness equipment and increase employment opportunities. Our community reporter Henry Luck has more.
5 Acre Wood students are running, rowing and cycling their way through an intense 24-hour challenge to raise money for a gym on their Oxford Road site. Joining them are staff and local community members here at Call the Gym in Maidstone.
Physical fitness is so important for all of us, and if we can support our young people to have physically fit and active lifestyles, that's going to impact and support them for the rest of their lives. And we really want to build a gym with Core Gym in Maidstone so that we can support that, so that we can provide pathways through to Core the Gym, but also support employment and healthy lifestyles.
The new gym will be built from an old shipping container, helping students to overcome barriers in fitness and employment.
So exercise is very adaptable to an individual, so I think there are a lot of students that may not necessarily be able to take part in sports like, you know, some more able students may be able to, where in a gym scenario every exercise is regressible and we can adapt the movement to suit the individual themselves. So it's a really good way to get people who may not really be that interested in physical activity becoming more active, and therefore obviously becoming a bit more healthy as well.
Even 2 hours into the fundraiser, 5 Acre Wood have already raised £10,000. While I'm certainly not dressed for the gym, I'll leave it to the students, volunteers and staff to do all the heavy lifting.
I started to get involved by doing the treadmill, bicycle, and I've really enjoyed the experience here. It's like when you first joined, you find it hard, but now I found it a bit more easier to do it.
Yes, absolutely loved every minute of it. It was the best experience going.
And what have you loved the most about it?
Trying new equipment and talking to new people.
The school has also set up a Just Giving page to get donations for the project. 5 Acre Wood students and staff will be racing through the night with plenty of help and, of course, snacks along the way. Henry Luck for KMTV in Maidstone.
And finally, it's been 30 years since the first ever Pokemon game released on the original Game Boy back in 1996. Ever since its release, it's become a household title with movies, TV shows, comics, and of course, games based around the franchise. But how are Pokemon fans celebrating this milestone? Well, Chloe Smith has gone down to a few gaming stores to see how fans are catching them all.
Pokemon Day 2026 has arrived. The Pokemon Company has been spreading joy to fans around the world for decades, from trading cards and collectible plushes on the big screen
and the smaller screens. Fans are celebrating another huge milestone for their beloved brand this year. But do the people of Kent know just how old Pokemon actually is?
No, I'm going to imagine it's like the 90s or something.
Not exactly. It's like one of those things that's always been around. So I know about 30, so I suppose it must be 30?
It's officially 30 years since Pokemon first entered our lives in Japan back in 1996, expanding its reach to Western audiences just 2 years later in 1998 with the release of Pokemon Red and Green. Today there are over 1,000 species of Pokemon found within countless shows and games. I visited We Love Collectibles, a family-run game store in Margate, to see how the local community is celebrating.
Our community is based around both collectors and players. We see a massive age range with collectors sort of as young as 2, 3 and 4, all the way up to around 60 and 70. We started off by visiting some local card shows and also some national events. Pokemon is definitely our main sort of focus in the store. People tend to know Pokemon just because of their existing knowledge. To be honest with you, it's kind of an international craze really, and has been for the last sort of 30 years.
We're really excited for Pokemon Day. We always love taking part in the celebration. At We Love Collectibles, we'll definitely be watching the Pokemon Day announcements to see all the cool stuff that gets announced this year. And for our community, we've actually got a Pokemon Day event including some really cool little giveaways, and we've got a play event during the day as well that has a little bit of a spin on it. to keep all the local players on their toes. So it's going to be a really fun day for the community, and we're really excited.
Here in Kent, you can find one of the leading stores for trading card grading in the UK. I'm here at the Sub-Centre in Herne Bay to speak with director Dan Davies about the recent surge in popularity of Pokemon card collecting.
So here at the Sub-Centre, we provide grading services for PSA, Beckett, CGC and TAG. They are the 4 main US-based grading companies. Card grading is where a professional grading company will assess your card's condition and give it a score from 1 to 10. And we offer those services here at the Sub-Centre where people can bring their cards in, they can ask us for advice. We service customers from Ireland to Australia, so it is a global business, and I think it's great that we're here in Kent as well. So it really does help thrive businesses in Kent, because it's not just us that will benefit from these people coming here. All the local businesses here, all the other local toy stores, game stores, they all pick up business from that.
But it's not just trading and grading. The Sub-Centre also helps to host the Kent Card Show in Maidstone, with over 350 vendors and special appearances from Pokemon celebrities, such as Jason Page, the singer of the original Pokemon theme song, and the voice actor for Professor Oak, Stuart Zagnett. The Kent Card Show is one of the fastest growing trading card events within the UK. How are you celebrating Pokemon Day this year? Chloe Smith for KMTV.
You've been watching Kent Tonight live here on KMTV. There's more news made just for Kent throughout the evening. Don't forget, you can always keep up to date with the latest news from across the county from logging on to kmtv.co.uk. And there you can also keep us on your social timelines by liking us on Facebook and following us on TikTok. And if you think we have a story that we should be covering, then please get in touch. But for now, thank you so much for watching. Goodbye.